right, so I'm going to go ahead and record this and we are going to get into it.
All right.
I unmuted everybody. So first of all, I want to welcome all you ladies and gents to the 90-day listing challenge. I'm glad that you signed up. I'm confident that somewhere along this journey, someone will benefit from this. What I would hope, this is my prayer, because we had an amazing service this past Sunday, and the pastor talked about procrastination. That was his topic. And he was reading from the book of Haggai, and I probably am saying that wrong. But anyway, it's only 2 books in there, two chapters. And he was talking about how, for the most part, when the year starts, we all start off strong and then we fizzle out. And so my hope is that we will all start strong and we will finish strong together. That is my hope and my prayer. And that's my prayer for you and your business, that we will go through this 90 days together. We will start strong, we will stay strong, and we will finish strong together. That's my hope. So in this 90-day listing challenge, it's not just about listing. It actually is beyond that. It is more about what it is that you want to have happen in your business. So we're going to do a quick exercise for this 90-day challenge, and then we're going to get into some planning. So this exercise is going to be a visualization. I want you to grab a notebook or a pen if you've got one, and put that aside because we're going to use it in a second. But I want you to think about your business. I want you to think about your business now. And I want you to think about your business in the next 90 days. Now, just think about that for just a second. And then I want you to, we're going to do a visualization exercise where I want you to visualize something that was amazing that happened in your life. Something that was wonderful, fantastic. It was the best thing ever. You know, I can think of my son's birthday is today, Nicholas's birthday is today. So I can think about when Nicholas was born. I was extremely excited. 3 months prior to Nicholas being born, I was probably terribly miserable. Pretty sure I was very miserable. But when he got here, everything about that journey 3 months prior to the day that he got here, it was, you forget about it. It just completely leaves your brain.
Yeah.
So I want you to think about for just a second, something amazing, wonderful, fantastic. Maybe it was the first time you moved out on your own, or the first time you went away to college, you were anxious and excited. Maybe it was when you got your driver's license. Maybe it's when you got married. Maybe it's when you had your first child. Maybe it was your first job. Maybe it was your first sale. Something that is tangible, that is real, that has happened in your life, that you can visualize, that there was an amazing feeling, there was awesome energy, there was excitement around it when it happened. Whatever it is, you pick something. And then I want you to think about that event in the context of 3 months prior to that event. 3 months prior to that event, maybe it wasn't so hot. Maybe you were training for a marathon, which is always a good example. And so prior to the marathon, you were probably miserable. You probably didn't want to get up. You didn't want to put on the tennis shoes. You didn't want to go run your 4 miles or 6 miles or whatever you had to do just so you can get ready to do this marathon 3 months from now. You probably didn't want to eat right. You probably want to go hang out with your friends and go to the club the night before or whatever. There was probably a bunch of stuff that you wanted to do. But in the midst of it all, you were shooting for that day in which you have to run, that day in which you want to be able to cross the finish line at 26 miles, which is a lot of miles. And all of it on that day was worth it. All the sacrifice, everything that you gave up, everything that you avoided, everything that you were very disciplined about, it was all worth it, it only became worth it on that day. Because the reality of this whole challenge, it is not about the challenge itself. It's about the journey to the destination. There is something you want to have happen at the end of this 90-day journey. Whatever it happens to be, maybe you're going to use the money to pay for your vacation. Maybe you're going to use the money to pay for fourth quarter. Maybe you're going to use the money to quit your job. Maybe you're going to use the money to retire. Maybe you're going to use the money to buy a car. I don't know what you're going to use the money for. Or maybe you just want to launch this amazing product that's been sitting in your brain. God has given you this vision for this product that doesn't exist in the marketplace, and only you at this moment can bring it to life. Only you can. And so I'm going to guarantee you that there's going to be hurdles. I'm going to guarantee you there's going to be obstacles. I'm going to guarantee you there's going to be distractions. I'm going to guarantee you there's going to be frustrations. I'm going to guarantee you there's going to be attempts at setbacks. At this point, everybody that's not serious about the next 90 days will get off the phone, leave the Zoom, and say, I don't want to do this. But for you, but for you, there is something tangible on the end of this 90 days that you're working towards. And so whatever that is, I want you to hone in on it. I want you to focus on it. I want you to meditate on it. I want you to pray on it. I want you to see it and feel it as though it is right now. Because then all of those distractions, all those hesitations, all those setbacks, all those hurdles, when you're going through it, it doesn't feel like it's worth it until you're on the other side. It never does. It never does. And then when you're on the other side, it was all worth it. So I want you to take your notebook and write down what it is that's your target. What's your goal? What's your objective? What's your mission? What's your vision? What do you see for yourself? What do you see for your business? What do you see 90 days from now? What is it that you see? How do you feel about that? Again, each one of us are working for different things. It could be you're ready to fire your boss. Could be you're paying for that vacation. Maybe you're paying for somebody's wedding or graduation. You could be paying, I mean, college, whatever. I don't know. But I want you to think about how you feel, what you see, and how you feel. And then you're going to use this note to yourself as a reminder when those hurdles, those obstacles, those setbacks, those distractions, when they all come flooding in. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to be honest, Satan wants us all to procrastinate. He does not want us to win. He does be victorious. He does not want us to make progress. He does not want us to move forward. He wants us to come up with many reasons why we can't participate in the weekly call. There's going to be something. Well, I couldn't make it. I just didn't have time today. I was exhausted. Well, something happened and I just couldn't. That's fine. There's going to be many reasons that are going to come up, valid and invalid, but it's all going to be justifiable in our heads. So I want you to think about that and write down what you see and what you feel 90 days from now when you get to that place. What is it that you're working towards? And what does it feel like when you get there? Maybe it'll feel completely different than what you write down. Maybe it'll feel completely different. Okay. So for me, 90 days from now, I'm thinking about my son. I really would love to be able to help him get a car, although he should be doing this himself, but that's a whole different discussion because we're in the middle of track season. So I would love to see him have a car 90 days from now because of the work and the energy and the investment that I made over a 90-day period. And it would be so exciting to see his face and to see his eyes light up and to see what it looked, me handing him the keys. I can visualize it. I can visualize him being happy. I can also visualize him not being grateful, but that's okay. That's part of having a teenager. But I'm just I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's
Mhm.
part of the journey. And I know that on the other side of that, it will be something that will be exciting. It'll be exhilarating. It'll be fun. And, and I'll be able to take a picture and post it, and he'll never forget it for the rest of his days and for the rest of my days. It'll be something that will be a memory that we will both hold on to. Whatever yours is, write it down. And if yours is something simple like keeping the lights on and keeping the water coming out of the faucet, that's fine too. If it's something like really just jump starting your business so that you get closer and closer to quitting your job, then that's fine too. If it is something as simple as launching that amazing print-on-demand product that you've been really wanting to launch, but you just didn't have the capital, and the fact that you were consistent for 90 days, now you have the capital to be able to invest in the prototype for this amazing product. I don't know what it is for you, but I want you to write it down. So my vision is me seeing my son, me handing my son a car. Let's going to go pick out a car. This is my vision 90 days from now. And going to go pick out a car with my son, or my son getting a car. That's my vision. I don't know what yours is, but you're going to write yours down. Okay. Now, I told you that there's definitely going to be obstacles. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be distractions. There's going to be setbacks. When it comes to those 4 things, my desire for my son to be able to have a car, regardless of how ungrateful he might be, or grateful he might be. Look, it also serves another purpose. I don't have to drive him anywhere. But anyway, so there's a
Selfish. No.
Oh, very much so. There is a selfish aspect to this. So, but it is going to be exciting because he will never forget it. So my want, my desire, my wish, my vision, and my dream has to be strong enough to be able to endure these obstacles, to be able to endure the hurdles, to be able to endure the distractions, to be able to endure the setbacks. My vision and my desire for this thing or this action or this activity has to be stronger or strong enough to be able to endure all of these. So if you feel like whatever your vision is, you feel like, okay, when I hit my first obstacle, I'm that type of person that I just bend, I fold in half, and I'm done, I'm out, I tap out, and then I'll come back 6 months later and start again. If you feel like that's where you are, this is your opportunity to work on some persistence, some endurance, some perseverance, and some prayer. If you feel like, okay, hurdles, because there's going to be hurdles. They're going to come. There's a guarantee, 100%. I'm guaranteeing you these things are going to happen. If you don't feel like it's strong enough, you need to hone in on that vision, or you need to figure out if that's really the thing that you're doing this for. Only you know that. So in order for us to prepare for these obstacles, the hurdles, the distractions, the first thing that we're going to do, our goal and our objective is we're going to set some milestones and some goals, okay? So our milestones are each month, since we're starting on the 31st, we're really starting on February 1, but anyway, so February, you're going to have a goal, March, you're going to have a goal, and April, you're going to have a goal. And it's going to be your listing goal, okay? So your question becomes, how many listings realistically, just off the cuff, before we even get into a schedule, because we're going to adjust our number more than likely. Not thinking about your schedule, what's your real, if you were going to push it, goal, not thinking about your schedule, what would you write down right now? How many listings would you love to be able to get done? So for me, and you just write it down yourself, I'm going to say 350. Okay. Then we're going to do a real reality check. So, so 350 gets me over 1,000 listings. Okay. Gets me a lot of listings. And I would love to be able to do 350. Okay. So this is my dream list that I would love to just be able to do, my ambitious list. Now I'm going to come back and I want you to think about your Monday and your Tuesday and your Wednesday and your Thursday, your Friday, your Saturday, and your Sunday. And do you have anything that is constant about Mondays for the next 3 months? Anything that's constant about Tuesday for the next 3 months? Anything that's constant about Wednesday for the next 3 months? Anything that's constant about Thursday, Friday, Saturday? I want you to think about those constants. And the reason I want you to think about them is that these may be our routines that you've established, that you do them on autopilot and you don't think about them. Now, having a job, that's a constant. Okay. It's something that's going to happen no matter what. And so you're going to go to work unless your kids are sick or something happens to your spouse or your dog or whatever, your car breaks down. Like, and even in that, those are all obstacles, hurdles, distractions, and setbacks. Those are life. That's really what those are. But it's a constant. So what are your constants that are happening in your life every day, no matter what? Now, if you're like me, you don't have a job and you're at home all the time. So you have to build your own consistency schedule so that you can, work on that habit of consistency. Then it's up to you to think about the things that you're very disciplined about. So what are those things that you're disciplined about if you don't have a job? Maybe you're disciplined about, I don't know, getting up and having breakfast every morning. Maybe you get up every day and you have coffee and you read the Bible. I don't know. You know what it is that you're very, very disciplined about every single day. The reason I want you to find that constant is we're going to try and anchor some aspect of this schedule that we're going to be building to something that is already constant, something that is pretty unchanging, something that is, that you've already committed to. So if you're working a job, what I want to think about is maybe there's an opportunity, maybe 30 minutes before you go to work, 30 minutes on your lunch break, or 30 minutes after work, so that you can tie it to the work activity that is the constant, so that you can build a realistic listing schedule for yourself. If you get up every morning and you go to work out and you sit down, you read your Bible, you drink some coffee, whatever, what is your constant? So for me, every morning, I already have a listing schedule. But I pretty much get up every morning, and after I get my kids out the door, which, when it's crazy weather like this, that changes things. But once my kids are out the door, before my kids are out the door, I normally do the daily eCom planning session. So after that, I would transition into working with my VAs. And then after that, I would list. So, and that's a disciplined schedule that I have on my own. So if I were working a 9 to 5, I might say, okay, if I get up every day to get my kids out the door for school, and then I go to work, maybe 30 minutes before I get up, and I commit for the next 30 days, getting up 30 minutes earlier. And the reason I say get up 30 minutes earlier is because I know that my optimal time to do listing is in the morning and not in the evening. If you ask me to do a listing at night, it's going to take me 2 hours to do one listing, and that's ridiculous. Because that is not my most productive time of the day.
Yeah.
My most productive time of the day is first thing in the morning. And if I can get up before Nicholas, if he didn't keep everybody up all night, then I can get a bunch of stuff done. Now, maybe you're not like me. Maybe you get more stuff done on your lunch hour. Maybe you get more stuff done right after you get off work. I don't know. But I want you to think about anchoring your potential listing schedule to something that you do fairly consistently every day, no matter what, or that you have a discipline or routine around. I also want you to think about your most productive time of the day, so that way, whatever goal numbers you establish, it's tied to that. So you have a better chance of hitting those numbers, even if the number is 5 or 2 or even 1. So now that we have like our dream listing, now we're going to try and do a reality check. What is realistically the amount of time that you could potentially invest in listing every single day? So for me, I know that I could do, this is just me. Okay. This is not you. This is just me. So I know that for at least 5 days out of the week, I can list, I normally list about 2.5 hours. But, and then I do on Saturday and Sunday, I do 4 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So 2x at 2x. At 5x. Okay. So that gives me about 12.5 plus 8. So just under 20 hours. No, 20 and a half hours. 20.5 hours per week that I can do listings. Okay. And if I'm being honest, it's not really that, because half of that is shipping. So sorry, let's just break it down to what it is. And this is 4. There we go. That's more realistic. So it's 8 plus 8 is 16. I knew it was under 20. So I just had never written it out this way. It's on my calendar, so I don't have to think about it. All right. So anyway, so for me, it's 16 hours a week of true listing. The other times are not listing times. Those are either shipping or sourcing or product research or any of that other stuff. But true, just hardcore listing, that's my window. And that's me doing it and not my VA. If I'm going to participate, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to do this with you. Now, we are going to talk about some ways we can streamline it. We're definitely going to streamline it because there's no need for any of us to struggle. All right. So for me, it's 16. And I want you to think about your schedule. So I'm going to give you all about 2 minutes to really think about your schedule. I'm going to shut up for about 2 minutes, or we'll have 2 minutes of silence. And I want you to write out for yourself on your piece of paper, realistically, what can you potentially anchor this listing time to, and or what discipline are you currently executing in your life on a regular basis every day that you can tie this listing time to? It has to be anchored to something, whether it's a discipline or whether it's something you do consistently on autopilot. And tie that to your most productive time of the day. All right, my shut up time starts now. Okay, hopefully you wrote something down. Now I want you to think about what is going to be your listing platform that you are going to list on Marketplace for the next 90 days. Now, you can change this, but the goal is to actually know what you're working towards. So, what platforms do you think, even if you don't list on them consistently, like you're going to touch these platforms? So, what are your platforms? I know mine. I'm picking 4. Actually, this is not fair. I'm picking 5. And I may throw Walmart in there, but I think that's enough. So what are your platforms, or what platform are you going to list on for the next 90 days that you're going to commit to listing on for the next 90 days? I want you to write that down.
Nicole, what's Bonanza?
Bonanza is in some ways similar to Google Shopping. Bonanza is, there's already an integration between eBay and Bonanza. You can just turn it on in your eBay account and it will push your listings over to Bonanza automatically. So
Oh,
you can
that's
turn it
nice.
on out of eBay. And so with Bonanza, your listings can show up automatically on Google Shopping. So it's an easy way to
Cool.
get your listings on Google Shopping.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, well, I'm really listing about 7 platforms because it's like Macari, and then I was like, okay, Walmart. Anyway, this is the one I'm going to commit to, but I know I'm listing on others. So I'm committing to these. At least 1 listing per week.
On each of these platforms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'll have way more than that because I'm going to cross list.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about our true potential, what our opportunities are for potentially anchoring this to our listing times to something that we're already doing, a discipline that we're already engaging in, or something that we're already doing, if there's an opportunity to do that. Sometimes there's not. I mean, some of you may have, I know nurses can have like flex schedules and they're working like, 3 days on and, 2.5 days of like 3.5 days on and 2.5 days off, like, those long schedules. And, different people work different shifts. So I know sometimes you have unexpected, unusual schedules. So we're looking for, if we have the opportunity to anchor it to something, maybe we can build a little consistency. All right. So picking out your platform, and then I want you to think about your e-commerce method. I want you to think about, where do you either currently have the best wins based on what you plan on doing. So is thrifting your thing, where you feel like I can list pretty fast with thrifting, or I get a lot of sales with thrifting, or retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, and what are the hurdles and obstacles? Like, all of us are going to endure stuff. Platforms are going to do stuff. It's just part of the journey. If you're doing private label, if you're going to source from China, hopefully you will have already ordered your inventory if you're going to source from China, because we're in the Chinese New Year. But what is your e-commerce method? You're going to do drop shipping, you're going to do wholesale. What are you going to do? So for me, I am doing print on demand, and I already have inventory in my storage unit, which some of it is RA and some of it is sort of thrifting. So I have arbitrage, and I have thrifting. So my goal is to empty the storage unit. I can't even spell thrifting. Thrifting. I think that's right. So that's my goal. Is in 90 days, empty the storage unit. We'll see how close I get.
I love that goal. Mine is empty my profit pile.
There you go. Death piles, whatever it happens to be, the goal is to get it out of here. And even if I can't get 100% out of it, at least a noticeable dent. Like, oh, okay, you went from 5,000 tubs to, because I think right now, I don't know what my real number is. I feel like I have close to 500 tubs, and I'm not joking about that. So if I can get it to half, I'd be happy. I would be real happy. All right, so you've written down a preliminary schedule or tentative schedule or something you're going to anchor it to. You've thought about your most productive time of the day. You decided on your platforms, okay, that you're going to commit to and your method of e-commerce. Then the last thing is we're going to figure out what our numbers are going to be. Realistically, what are our numbers going to be? So based on my schedule, based on the fact that I know the track is unrelenting, and then I got the track schedule from the coach, and we're going to be into track into April, depending on if Tony places or not. So in March, the end of March is going to be critical as to whether or not he places, meaning we'll have all these track meets, and then if he places, then he's going to go to state and then nationals. We'll see. So I know that sometimes that's 100% out of my control. A couple of those days, I don't have any control over what happens because of the fact that it's a series of qualifiers. And if you qualify, you go on to the next one. If you don't qualify, you're done. So you don't know if you're running or not. So I know those are going to be non-listing days for me. So for me, I know that I'm going to have to list more in March in advance before those dates. I'm going to be proactive and plan ahead because I know that I have these blocks where it's like 4 days in a row or 3 days in a row where I have no control over what's going to happen to my schedule. So if you know that you have something like that coming up, spring break is one of those times where you have no control over your schedule. Sometimes if you have kids, because the kids are home and your productivity kind of takes a hit, or maybe it goes up significantly if you whip the kids into shape and say, you're helping me on this spring break. I don't care if I pull out all my hair and yours, you just decide. So you got to figure out what it is what your game plan is going to be. So for me, I feel like my numbers, I'm going to have to make adjustments to. So my realistic numbers, what are your realistic numbers? Now, I want you to think about, before you write down your numbers, is your target. These are going to be your target ones that you're going with after today. I want you to think about how long it currently takes you to create a listing, whether you're using a listing tool or not. And if you haven't practiced, you can spend this week doing some dry runs to see how long it really takes you. I want you to think of it like a production line, a manufacturing line. There's so many units you got to get out per hour or per 30 minutes. And so if you uninterrupted, not distracted, and you were organized, how many listings realistically do you think, based on the schedule that you wrote out or based on the listing times that you wrote out, how many listings do you think realistically you can create in that time? So if you wrote down an hour and you're like, I think I can create 5 listings in an hour. For 5 listings in an hour, it's 12 minutes a listing. We're going to break it down to its production time. Okay. If you're going to create 10 listings per hour, then that's 6 minutes per listing. So you may have to do some dry runs and make adjustments to your numbers if you haven't been listing for a while. But I want you to think about how many realistically you think you can create in an hour. Images, descriptions, titles, keywords, all of that on whatever your preferred platform is. Now, you can be very strategic about this. If you find that it is faster for you to list on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, or maybe you're using a tool like List Perfectly, and so you want to put it into the listing catalog and push it to the other platforms, that's fine. So how long does it take you to get a listing into the List Perfectly catalog? Okay. Or maybe you're listing on Facebook Marketplace and you're sharing it over to eBay, because creating listings on Facebook Marketplace are fast. Creating listings on eBay are okay. Creating listings on Facebook may take you, may take you a couple minutes longer. So my point is, based on the platforms in which you said you're going to list, you can get strategic and decide, I'm going to create the majority of my listings on this platform because I can create them much faster there. So really think about this. How many minutes do you think you need to create a listing? And then I want you to think about how many listings you want to shoot for in the month of February, March, and April. And you can break it down into the 4 weeks if it's easier for you to do it that way. And then from there, you break it into the days. Go ahead, whoever's getting ready to talk, go ahead.
That brings up something very interesting because I have to look at what I'm going to list on the weekends and what I'm going to list during the week since I do work. There's things that have to be tested, prepped, measured, whatever. So those will probably be a weekend list. So just really kind of categorizing or looking at what is it like, for instance, if it was a game system, or if I were doing shirts, something like that, things that will really get on my profit pile. Now, books, no big deal. Actual games, video games, no big deal. But some of the other things, I really have to look at what is going to be on what day.
Well, you probably have to average out your listing number because, like you said, books, you're going to be faster than other things. And you're probably going to have to get strategic about some of your pictures. So maybe so with my son, just so everybody knows my system, our system is Saturday we pull stuff out and we take pictures, and I create listings on Saturday. But then Sunday is all about creating pictures and laying the foundation for the rest of the week. So we would take the pictures on Sunday to send to the VA. So our process was, we take the pictures on Saturday, we put them onto our Google Drive. The VA goes out there, does the product research, creates the mock listing with the title and the description, edits the image, clears out the background, and then she begins the process of creating the listings for her. So if I knew that I wanted her to create 60 listings that week, that meant that Saturday we pull out 60 items out of the storage unit and out of the garage, and we get those pictures taken. And anything else I was working on, maybe I'm doing print on demand while my son is pulling that stuff out, or I tell him what to go get. So in this example, I know that Easter's coming, so I would tell him to go pull out the Easter stuff out of the storage unit and out of the garage. And then Sunday, we would take the pictures of the bundles that we were going to make so that the VA could list them throughout the week. We put them up in the Google Drive, and she would create the listings. But since I'm doing it, we're still going to follow that process. It's just I'm going to be the lister. So maybe you put a system in place to where you take all the pictures, the stuff, if you have it, since you have your own death pile, and you say, okay, I'm creating 60 listings this week, or I'm creating 20 listings this week, and pull your 20 out and take your pictures and get that out of the way. So it's one thing that doesn't slow you down. Did that help?
Did. Another question, speaking of pictures, what do you find easier, cell phone or camera, and you're using a disc or whatever and sticking in the computer?
Cell phone. Cell phone is the easiest for me, because on my phone, we have the Google Drive. So I use Google Drive like crazy.
Right.
So you can upload your photos to Google Photos. We also have folders, and so we have folders for each week. So it just makes it a lot easier since we already have an established system. We do use Photo Room, so he'll take the pictures. We have multiple photo boxes. So, and we also have multiple ring lights. So we'll use Photo Room to clear the backgrounds. And then if I don't like the pictures, that's a great thing about Sunday. If he takes pictures and I look at them and I don't like them while I'm listing, then I will tell him, this is not good. Or if he doesn't group them together, like if it's going to be a bundle, like an Easter bundle, then I would tell him, you got to go take these again. These two go together. You need to reposition that, stack this, like whatever. And I make him take each of the individual items that are going into the bundle, and then he takes the cluster photo. And so I make him go through and show me while I'm listing. So I'm like multitasking. I'm like near him with the laptop. So yeah, it's easier with the phone than to use anything else. I haven't used anything else but an iPhone to take my pictures. Every once in a while I'll use an LG. I just got a Motorola and I don't know what the camera's like on it. So yeah, I use an iPhone for everything.
Thank you. That makes a whole lot of sense because I do have a Google Drive.
Yeah, it's just easier. So yeah, we use the photo room app, and we also use the Google Drive photos folder, and everything goes in there. And even if we don't get, like, if we're taking pictures, the great thing about Google is it also date stamps it. So if we don't remember to send the link to the VA, move all the photos into a folder and send them to the VA, she can go out to our photo drive because we've given her access, and she can go see all the ones that are dated and see, oh, these are new. And she can pull them into a folder, and then she can start working. So she's a little weirded out because I'm not going to be using her for the next 3 months. There's nothing like scaring your VA.
Yeah, you're you're walking the walk.
So I have to give her something else to do. So she's going to work in my eCom seller side of my business, which is going to be really interesting. She's been my listing lady since, I don't know, April of 2021, 2020. I don't know, a little while.
I have a question for you. I have only listed on Facebook Marketplace and have only done local pickup, or I'll deliver or meet. But I want to look into the shipping aspect of it for some of the smaller items that would ship well. My own experience is I ordered, I think, a book from somebody, and I ended up having to pay postage above and beyond what Facebook Marketplace charged me for that item. So I want to know, and some of the prices to ship on Facebook Marketplace come in at a lot lower than what I would expect to pay. And I'm wondering if there's some fine print I'm missing that the buyer is going to have to pay the difference from what they're charged and what shows up at the post office. When I talked to the person at the post office when I picked up my item, they said, oh yeah, this happens all the time now with Facebook Marketplace. So can you talk about that at all? Because I would really like to continue on Marketplace because it's so easy, but I'm concerned about the whole shipping aspect of it. And if this might be a thing for another day, but.
We probably need to do a sidebar, but this is what I will tell you. I know that I think maybe Facebook is going to make this correction, but Mercari does a really good job of allowing the seller to adjust the dimensions of the item because that can affect the shipping. And I don't remember seeing where Facebook allows you, when somebody buys it, to make the adjustments or even is looking for that level of detail. So it kind of groups together what it thinks the shipping is going to be. And then of course the shipping prices are continuing to change. And we already know that regional's gone, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's going to be an ongoing thing that's going to happen. But what you can do as a seller is you can, like, since I know, because I sell on other platforms, I can tell when there's going to be a problem with the shipping. So I know what to help adjust it to so that people don't run into that. And so your bigger things or your heavier things, you may want to charge, or at least I'll have to figure out where the settings are, but make an adjustment to that shipping for that particular item, whatever that item is. I would encourage you to do, I would definitely encourage you to do shipping with Facebook Marketplace instead of, pickup. And if you're going to do that level of pickup, like figure out another service to let somebody else do it for you. That's just my suggestion. People are crazy and the world seems to be in some kind of weird, dark place right now. So I'm not trying to meet anybody anywhere, including in a police station parking lot. So I would encourage you to look at alternative ways of getting the package to the customer.
Okay.
Instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've done porch pickup and things like that, even myself. So, but I get where you're coming from because it's not comfortable having strangers come up to your home or to meet them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, porch pickup was a different thing, probably, like 5 years ago, 8 years ago. It was a different thing. In the last 2 to 3 years, it's just gotten weird.
Yeah, and then you got people, porch pirates, coming by and grabbing stuff they see. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
gotten
hear you.
really weird in the last 3 years, maybe
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So it was a
Okay.
different thing when I used to do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so what we're gonna do is, if you have to break it down and say, okay, I'm gonna be working, we know that I'm gonna be working 16 hours in my business. And if I'm going to be generous, I could say, okay, 16 hours, we can do the math. Let me just get the calculator out because I'm the calculator nerd. So say I'm gonna work 16 hours, and I know in 1 hour, let's say we're gonna do 15 minutes. I'm not gonna do 15 minutes, I'm just telling you right now, but I'm just gonna make something up. So let's say I'm gonna do 15 minutes. So if I'm doing 15 minutes per listing, that's 4 listings in an hour. 4 times 16. Oh, it only helps if you can do math, Nicole. So 4 times 16 is 64 listings a week. Okay. So I want you to think about your schedule and how many hours you really can commit to listing. This is not how many hours you're going to work in your business. This is just listing. So if you're committing to 2 hours of listing every single day, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours of just listing. That's not product research. That's not sourcing. That's not packing and shipping. That is just listing. So how many hours can you commit to for just listing? And then whatever that number is for you, don't use my number, use your number. So for me, my goal, if you need to break it down by week, you can. So for me, I'm going to do 20 listings per week on the stuff that's in my garage and my storage unit. Okay. So I'm just going to call it GS. That's the garage and the storage unit, and 20 print on demand listings. Okay. That's what I'm committing to. And that's every week. Ooh, if I can just move my mouse. So that puts me at 40 listings a week. 40 listings a week. I don't know why I keep hitting that part. 40 listings a week for 4 weeks is 160 listings a month. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. If you need to break yours down. Now, I want you to look at your calendar. Like, you might have something going on for spring break, so you got to block that week out. Like, I want you to be realistic on whatever you're coming up with. I hope that's right. You know, today I'm challenged with just doing math, I'm telling y'all. That puts me at 480 listings a month. Oh my gosh, I'm short of my goal. My goal is 500. So I'm 20 listings short. All right. I'm gonna have to figure that out. That's all right. I'm gonna, maybe it's 41, 40, yeah, 41 times 4 times 3, 492. Gonna have to do 22. Yep, I have to do 22. My goal is 500. It was really 1,000, but I'm gonna break it down. So 42 times 4 equals times 3. All right, 504. That's what I got to do. Here we go. All right, so these are my numbers. So starting next week, my goal is to get to these numbers. Kind of scary. So you know what your numbers are. And next week, we're going to talk about your numbers. That's going to put me at 504 for 3 months. Now, we know that March is going to have 31 and February only has 28. So they'll average out. We'll steal a day or two and spread them out, blah, blah, blah. So it gives me 168. I may start this week just so I can get legs up, because I know that I've got 1 week in March that I have no control over my life. So at least 1, if not 2. So I may start this week so I can at least have some advanced listings done. Okay. So the last thing that I want you to do, why don't you write these numbers out, the last two things, okay? Because we're going to wrap up because I got another training I got to get ready to do. But the last two things I want you to think about is this new realistic schedule that you wrote out. I want you to go back and I want you to meditate on it. And I want you to think about what are the obstacles that are going to impact your ability to hit your targets. What's going to impact my ability to hit 42 listings every single week? And for me, 42 listings per week, how many do I have to create per day? So I could take that 42, and if I say I'm listing 6 days a week, I got to at least list 7 listings per day in order to make sure that I'm hitting my targets. So I know 7 is my number if I'm doing 42 a week. Now, that's working 7 days a week in my, or 6 days a week in my business. You have your own number. And maybe you're committing to working 5 days a week in your business, just on listing. Again, we're talking listing time, no other time, not product research, not shipping, not sourcing, none of that other stuff, just listing. What is that number for you? And I want you to write it down. So for me, it's 7. And then what is going to stop you, prevent you, interrupt you, disrupt you, your ability to sustain that schedule? I want you to go think about what's happening in February. What are the things that you're committed to doing? What are the activities and actions you're involved in? What are the things that people asked you to volunteer or sign up for? February is Black History Month. March is spring break. And April is Autism Awareness Month. So plus on top of that, I'm the VP of a nonprofit. So we're clearly going to be doing something special needs for Easter. So I am host. I have to make up ground on the weeks in which I know I'm going to be distracted. I'm going to be distracted at least for a full week in April because we have the special needs Easter egg hunt. I'm going to be distracted in March for not only for one thing, but 2 things. For the track meet and also for spring break. And in the month of February, I got 2 prom special needs related things that we're going to Night to Shine. And I forget what the other thing is with my boys. So I have to make up ground. I know what some, not all, of my distractions are. So I can't rest on the number 7. I know that I'm going to have to probably list some days 10 or 12 or 15, just because I have these other things that are going to potentially impact my ability to hit my targets every single week.
So if you've hit your zone and you're like really cruising and listing, it behooves you to keep on going.
To keep on going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the thing that normally gets us to that place where we stop, start, is because of the fact that something came up that we weren't expecting, or something came up and we already had listing fatigue. We were tired of listing. We didn't want to deal with any inventory. So we're into that procrastination zone. And we were like, well, I really need to go do this other thing anyway. So let me just go do that. Okay. So you're just putting off the inevitable, because that's really what procrastination is. It's putting off something for tomorrow that you can do today, because you just don't want to do it. You don't enjoy it. There's nothing about it that you like. So when you get to that place where you don't want to do it, there's nothing about it that you like, I want you to remember that vision of what your life will look like at the end of this 90-day run. You have to focus on that. What will life look like? Go back to that. My son will be in a state of shock. He will be so excited. He might, I hope not, wrap the car around a tree, but he's going to be really, really excited. He may even snatch the keys out of my hand, and I may have to just pop him in the back of the head. Who knows? I'm just saying. My point is, it is going to be a good thing. And that's just the humor of, having kids. So I want you to go back and I want you to think about what's realistic for you. What adjustments do you need to make? I know that a couple of those weeks, instead of doing 42 listings, I'm probably going to have to do 60 for a couple of weeks, because the week after that, I may not be able to do 42. So I'm going to do some extras for 2 weeks and then know that I'm not going to do as many the other 2 weeks. So plan for the inevitable, the things that you know of. What are they going to ask you to do in work that happens every single year? But for you this year, you're going to act like it's a surprise, and that'll be your reason why you don't hit your numbers. Oh, I had this thing to come up at work. Is it something that happens every single year? Yeah, so you knew it was coming. It's like Christmas. Christmas doesn't move. It happens every year at the same time, right? Yeah, okay. So you're just using it as an excuse at this point. Yeah, I guess so. All right, fine. So you got to be honest with yourself. So next week, we're going to get together, same time. We're going to talk about our numbers and what you meditated on, what you feel like this is realistic for me. This is going to work for me. This is my life. This is what I built out. Yeah, for a couple of weeks, I'm going to do 60 listings, and the other weeks, I'm going to do 25 or 30, whatever that number adjustment looks like for you. And then we're going to, if everybody wants to and is ready to, we're going to assign accountability partners just to help keep us on track. Somebody that can just check in with you on Wednesday or check in with you on Friday and say, how's it going? Did you get your numbers? Yeah, no, whatever. So that you can have somebody to bounce stuff off of. So I hope this was helpful. Was this helpful to kind of get you into the right mindset for the next 90 days?
Absolutely.
All right. So I need you to put together your game plan next week. The answers to these questions is what I need. I need to know what your schedule is going to be. And I really, let me just be honest, I don't need to know it. I just want you to be honest about it. Okay. So how many hours are you going to spend listing? I want you to be prepared with that number. What's your preferred platforms? What's your preferred e-commerce method? And then how many listings are you shooting for each day, each week, and each month? Okay. And then we're going to assign an accountability buddy. And after we assign the accountability buddy, we're going to go through one e-commerce tip. It's going to help you hopefully be able to list a little bit faster or better, or get more traction to your listings, or help you with pricing or shipping or whatever it happens to be. So we'll have one e-commerce tip a week. Okay. Well, I'm glad you signed up, and I hope this is a blessing to you and your business. And I hope this is a blessing to you. And I hope that next week I will see you when we do this again.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Next week we start listing. So if you need to do some dry runs to see how long it takes you to create listings so you know what your numbers are, then do that. If you need to do dry runs, you might need to. I'm rusty. So I had to do some dry runs because I didn't know what my numbers were. Now, I've been lucky for the last 3 years having somebody else list for me. All right. I'll talk with you all later. Have a blessed one, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 7.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye.